for joining us for our 10 minutes and 10 questions. Today, we are lucky enough to have a Freddie Moross from Myndstream. Hello, Freddie.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Great. Well, we're not going to waste any time here. We're going to jump in and just get firing with those questions. So, who is Myndstream and what do you do?
Thank you, Aaron. So we're a music business predominantly. We try and bring music out of the background and into the foreground within wellness locations. So we specialize in functional and wellness music. We've built a streaming platform to be able to deliver that seamlessly into spaces. And we come with a very significant catalog of correctly licensed music that can allow you to elevate your space, as well as also a large roster of composers and producers so we can create new music with you. So the idea is figure out the stories you want to tell and use music as the soundtrack to them.
Fantastic, because that is really an important piece, is telling that story and journey. Um, so, what are the common misconceptions about wellness music, and how is Mindstream challenging those?
I think the main one that was clear to us when we sort of were doing the research and deciding we wanted to enter the space was it had to be a certain style. Like people were listening to the same whale on repeat, or hand pans, or pan pipes, and this kind of this very background view of what music had to be in a wellness location, particularly a spa. And I think the other thing was variability and choice was so restricted. I think it was always just considered music was just a background part of the experience and something you had to kind of just deal with, and it was expected, so it was there, but other than that it added very little additional value. So the main kind of point for us was actually, we come from the film and television world where it couldn't be more different. Music is something you invest in, it adds value to the overall production, and it actually generates a return. It's not a cost center to these different production companies. It's something that's an asset and it drives ROI. So for us, it was two things we wanted to disrupt immediately. One, showcase that you can actually do really cool and interesting things with music, bring it out of the background into the foreground, make it a critical part of the experience. And two, whilst doing so, deliver it in a way where it can actually drive value, not just for the experience, but commercially. How can you drive ROI through music by utilizing it as an asset? So those were kind of the two driving factors that we felt were going to be critical as we wanted to disrupt how audio has been consumed previously.
Yeah, I'm not a whale listener either.
There's
I'd
one
much
very,
rather
very
bring.
rich whale out there, though. One very rich whale.
Yeah, I mean, music can be so moving, and it actually is an experience in its own right. So this is fantastic to hear. So what role does the research and collaboration with experts, you're working with neuroscientists and therapists, what does that play in the development of Mindstream's music?
I think the first thing that was made clear to us because of our background in entertainment music was that this style of music is fundamentally different, given the fact that the listener is in a particular part of their journey. They're looking to have an outcome. So at the beginning of our journey, we felt this kind of, I want to call it a duty of care almost, because the listener was so different in terms of the use case that we felt like research was going to be a critical part of understanding the asset better. We knew there were functional properties to it because people were already using this music for a particular use case, but the problem is we didn't understand what aspects of it worked, what aspects could work better for a particular individual or a particular outcome. And so when we started this journey, we just wanted to understand it better. And so we reached out to neuroscientists, we did institutional partnerships, really with this kind of concept of how can we help deliver a framework to an artist so that they can be more informed when they're creating. Just it's more intention up front. And the more research we do and the more partnerships we have and the more understanding we have, the better a partner we can be to the artist to provide them with the information where they can make those creative decisions. So yeah, that's why research has been critical for us.
Really does make a difference, if you're going in for an experience, and it's not necessarily that you want to fall asleep, but maybe you want to feel rejuvenated, that music can really do that for you and really tap into the parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system and really change the way you feel. So I'm really excited to see and hear some of these tracks coming along. So what impact really can Mindstream music have in a wellness setting?
Really, it's about understanding all the various tools, the stories you're already telling, and then understanding that music is just another tool to be able to deliver the experience or improve or heighten that experience, whilst also telling the stories you already have invested in. So I think the true value of music is that it plays really well with others, and because every brand, location, experience, they've invested so much time in what products are you using? How have we designed the ambiance? What's the space looking like? What experiences are we using to draw people in? Audio can be an amazing way of creating a soundtrack that one create allows people to fall deeper into that experience and enjoy it more, but also to drive a different additional value through it. Doing it in a professional space and having it professionally crafted, it's just another reason to differentiate you from the next location that someone might be wanting to try, whilst creating a memory anchor that allows them to come back. If you have a truly amazing, unique audio experience, it's memorable.
Sticking with businesses, a lot of people use personal streaming platforms in businesses. Now,
Mm.
there is a bit of a risk to that, isn't there? Can you help enlighten us on that one?
And so, um, as a commercial enterprise, there are two licenses you kind of have to pay. One is the performing rights license that I would imagine most are familiar with, and that is paying to your relevant performing rights organization. And that gives you the ability to perform the music in a public space. Now, separate to that, you actually have to then pay a license to the music player itself. So our license that we would pay personally is to Spotify or Amazon or Apple for our personal consumption. We don't have to worry about the public performance because it's all for personal use. But a common misconception in business is, oh, well, if I'm paying for Spotify personally, surely that's the same thing and I can just use it in my business context. And unfortunately, that you can't do that. That's contravening their terms of service. So any of the personal streaming platforms that we all know and love, like Spotify, Amazon, Apple, YouTube, any of these platforms, if you decide to go through and read those lovely T's and C's, what you'll find is that they limit your use for personal use. And the reason is that as an artist, when you're delivering music, if you are delivering music for the sale of something, whatever that may be, you should be entitled to a different royalty rate. You should be entitled for a different portion. And I think the question you need to ask yourself as the director or therapist is, if you were to use no music at all, would you be able to charge the exact same amount as if you have music now? And if the answer in your head is probably I would have to charge less, then you know that the artist is creating value for you, and therefore the artist has to be paid. And so you have to pay your commercial license. So all of that long-winded explanation to say that there's a distinction in terms of the performance rights that people might be used to paying, and then the mechanical rights that a platform pays, and the personal platforms are different to the commercial platforms. So you need to make sure that you have the correct licenses in place.
I actually think that was a really great way to explain it. So thank you for doing that.
Of course.
Um, so, what does the Mindstream subscription look like and cost? What's included?
So we have a couple different price points. The one that we like to kind of start with is this concept of how do we create a intentional audio throughout a location, no matter how many different rooms or spaces you might have. The kind of the fundamental challenge we have to anyone as we start with, and this is kind of how the wellness industry is operated, is this 1 to 3 channel system. It's so limiting because you can't start really thinking about the guest journey and that concept of A to B, and really crafting different audio experiences throughout. So we wanted to remove that entirely and just say, look, don't pay us on a per zone basis, don't pay us on a per channel basis. Let's just get in and let's just craft a guest experience, right? So our subscription prices are all with that in mind. We have an unlimited package, which is currently priced at $750 per annum per location. And that gives you the ability to have any type of music in any different room, no matter how many rooms you have. So unlimited in essence. And then we have kind of an essential package, which is really targeting smaller operations who don't really need different music in different spaces. Maybe they're a one-room day spa, as an example, or an individual therapist who is traveling around with just a speaker and a table, as it were. And that's a $250 per annum per instance subscription package. So the way that we've changed our model is, let's come in and offer exactly what we have, as much of it as possible, changing it as often as possible to keep it fresh and feeling with good controlled guidelines. That puts the guest at the center. And then what I suggest is, if you have additional budget, let's focus on creating something completely unique for your location. so that the actual brand is benefits and the guest benefits. And the exciting thing for me is once we've done that once and I showcase the value of driving return through music as a new asset, what ends up happening is people want to invest more budget because it drives return. So now I have a limitless opportunity as the partner. I'm incentivized to provide the best content possible. You're incentivized to keep creating new assets with me. And so all of a sudden we don't have that misalignment and the benefit goes to the guest. So that was the reason we changed our model. But it all starts with a simple subscription just to get music in your space.
That sounds like a win-win to me. You kind of almost covered my next couple of questions. So you said that you can personalize the music to different spaces, which is music to my ears, literally. uh, so how does that work? Mm.
Yeah, so essentially it's just thinking again about these journeys. Usually there's been intention around the design of a journey that brings people in. So the first thing we start with is, okay, here's all of our music as is that you have access to the day you subscribe or the day you start the free trial. What you'll see immediately is everything's outcome based. Everything's got a kind of a considered thought of what are you trying to achieve in the different parts of your space. You can set up the different areas so it becomes quite controlled and you have the ability to kind of start thinking about what you want your different areas to sound like. But when you take that to another level, it's about saying, okay, well, what products have you invested in? What treatments have you invested in? What's your brand trying to say? And how can we use audio as a way to tell those narratives or immerse further? So it's things like, let's create a recovery ritual to really try and help people understand why you've invested in Hyperice, as an example, as one of the kind of recovery brands that you might bring into your gym space. Let's use audio as a way to tell that story. So you can do a whole bunch of different things to create more narrative, which means you have more marketing potential. You have reasons to be able to talk about the audio, but you also have the ability to immerse and create experience. And when you then actually create new content, which is what we often like to do, now you have the ability to say, okay, you've just experienced our recovery, our unique recovery area with Hyperice. We've made that particular thing sound like a ritual or a soundtrack. Now take it away as a gift. Listen to it when you're interacting in your recovery sessions at home. Maybe here's a few ways of moving that we would encourage. Every single time they engage with it, one, they're considering your brand because that's where they learned about it. But two, it generates royalties. And so now you have royalty income. That's a fresh new revenue line that we can pay back through to the brand. We collect it, we distribute it, and we make sure that it comes back to you. So all of a sudden it becomes this very holistic, all-encompassing approach. It's a lovely movable asset, as it were.
So looking ahead, what are some of the exciting developments or future directions for Mindstream?
Functional music isn't just ambient. I think that's the exciting part. Like you can do things, you can downregulate, you can also bring people up. You can do things that are energizing. You can get people moving through music. So I think the thing that's exciting for Mindstream is we are not limited to just being really good at soundtracking spas. We can do a lot more. So there'll be some things coming up which will hopefully excite a lot of people. Hopefully, and certainly we're very excited about it. So yeah,
I
fun to
like
come.
that functional music. So we look forward to hearing that. And coming up soon, you're also going to be on a webinar with the Touchless Wellness Association, where we're going to dive a bit deeper into all of this and a whole load of other things. So make sure you tune into that. Thank you very much for joining us today, Freddie. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Aaron.